Hey everybody, it's Dwayne Marino. Welcome to today's Autoversity. Just going to have a little chat with you while I drive. And I want to talk to you about goal setting and the weird, the woo-woo, and the very practical psychology of setting goals and why you should do it. So I want to share a little bit of a story if you've never heard it. On September the 13th, 2001, 2 days after September the 11th, I begrudgingly went to a Detroit Lions football game with John Kostakis, Bob Moore, and Bob Moore's brother. Now, Bob Moore and John Kostakis are two of the biggest speaking promoters in North America. And at that time, they were promoting Grant Cardone in the automotive space. And I'd seen Grant speak and was very impressed. And was also very impressed with John and Bob because they all talked about one thing that was very common, and that is writing down your goals and looking at them every day. I had, at that point in my life, not yet taken up that task. Now, that evening, I was sitting in the hotel room with John Kostakis in Windsor, Ontario, following the football game in Detroit. And when he was curling up in a little, tucked to fetal position to go to sleep, I turned on the lamp at the desk and I wrote down my first goals list, and I added to that gratitudes. I'm a big believer in gratitude. Now, I really believe gratitude keeps you in your lane in life, keeps you humble, keeps you feeling great no matter what's going on, kind of always looking at the half full part of the glass. And goals keep you on point, keep you moving forward. I've since really experienced this firsthand. But anyways, I wrote down my first goal and gratitude list, and I put it in my pocket, and I made a commitment to at least reading it every day or looking at it every day for a few seconds. What happened after that, the next 6 months, was nothing short of really a bunch of miracles. I had a whole bunch of things that I kind of wanted to have happen to me and goals I was trying to obtain start to really manifest and happen. Now, I was taking action on them in the same way I had in the past, but it seemed like, I don't know, my wheels were being greased in the right direction, or that things were being lined up for me a lot easier. So I just really became a believer in the luck, the serendipity, or the hard work, and the practicality of goals and gratitudes. What I started to teach from that point forward, and I never teach things I don't have personal experience with, so it's my business, my company. I always talk from the heart and shoot from the hip. And what I started to do was write down my goals and gratitudes on the back of a business card and look at them every day. And I would rewrite them maybe once a month or every 6 months, and I've been doing that ever since. Now, in the last few months, and I know Grant Cardone's talked about this a lot in the past, was the importance of writing down your goals and writing down your gratitudes daily. And I started a journal and started doing that myself every single day for probably the last few months. And I will tell you, the power of writing them down daily is so much higher, and it magnifies your intensity and your efforts and the alignments and the weird woo-woo-ness of it all so much better that I now pretty much write down my gratitudes and my goals every single day in a journal every morning for 5 minutes, and I find or create or make the 5 minutes to do that. Now, why am I sharing this tip right now? In the last 30 days, I've had more action and activity relative to my goals and gratitudes take shape in some very direct and very indirect odd ways. I can't even begin to discuss them. And there's going to be a really kind of a pretty cool public announcements coming up here very soon, some big news I've been alluding to on social media for last week that is going to shift my life and my career in a whole other gear and direction, and really is going to help me help a lot more people globally, travel less, have probably some pretty positive financial impacts on my life, and surround myself with some really impactful, like-minded people in ways I've never been able to do up until now. So what I'm suggesting here is, when you start to write down your goals and gratitudes, I believe in repetition. I believe, neurons that wire together, fire together, and neurons that fire together, wire together. There's a synaptic relationship there that definitely happened, and you start acting things out. But I want to give you something else that I think might be going on. I very much am a believer in spiritualism or consciousness or, the simulation theory, whatever you want to call it, where maybe we're not entirely here and part of us is someplace else. And there's a lot of physics now going on. I follow people like Tom Campbell and University of Western Virginia and McGill University in Canada and a lot of other thought leaders that are teaching that, for lack of a better word, we actually live in a simulation. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, I believe is his name, has a great talk you can watch online where they talk about the code, the actual code being discovered in this so-called VR, or virtual reality. Elon Musk says that, the odds of us living in base reality 1 is less than 1 in 1 billion. And here's his simple logic on this. And I'm going to go somewhere with this in about, 2 minutes. We have come so far with computer animated simulations. I remember Pong and Super Mario. now video games are so realistic, it's very tough to tell by looking at them visually on a screen if you're looking at something live or something done in CGI or anything like that, that if we don't blow ourselves up or wipe ourselves out in the next 100, 1,000, or 10 million years, there will come a time when we will have designed a simulation which is so realistic that when you slap on the goggles or take the pill or do whatever we're going to do or take the brain implants, you will not be able to distinguish that simulation from reality. You'll think you are the simulation. Now, I've had some experiences with a lot of meditation and ayahuasca and other things, binaural beats. I've done lots of courses and been lots of places where, since my father passed away, I've had a lot of really strange experiences that I couldn't explain. So being a super curious, open-minded, but skeptical person, I started doing my own research and first-hand experiences. And I can tell you, we're a lot bigger than what we think we are, quite probably. And my experiences would tell me I know that we are. Now let me throw the simulation example at you, and it just could be a good metaphor. We may not actually live in a computer simulation. Maybe it's some kind of a weird computerized organic simulation. I don't know. Let's think about this for a second. Let's say you were playing Super Mario or some kind of a video game, and every day you show up, and you probably like to compete or play with the same players over and over in these simulations as you get better with each other, and you probably change roles and change goals through many, many different games, and you level up or level down based on how good you do in each game, and sooner or later every game comes to an end. And then you reflect, maybe you go play another game for a while, and you can come back in and play that simulation. So let's say during one of your competitions or games with Super Mario all of a sudden breaks free from the game, still actively on the screen doing his stuff, and he seems to have developed free will. All of a sudden the little guy's got free will, and he finds a piece of paper or a notepad or a pen or a marker and writes down, I want to play baseball. And playing baseball was never in the simulation. It wasn't part of the game. Now, you're aware of baseball and what baseball is, but that was never part of the Super Mario game. And then all of a sudden he goes back to you controlling him with the joystick, and you continue on for a few more levels or games. And then again, repetitively, he writes down, or he looks at the computer screen, or he seems to look at you where you are, and he says, I want to play baseball. And he says it repetitively with emotion, and you can tell he means it. I'm going to tell you that you'd be really confused at first, and then what you would probably do is figure out a way with you and the other players to roll a baseball into the scene. And you'd want to see what he does with that baseball. Now, if he starts to show interest in that ball, and it's matching what his repetitive emotions have been telling you, and he starts getting good with that ball, you might roll in a bat. Next thing you know, you're rolling a glove. Next thing you're rolling other players and a new team. And next thing he knows, he's now team captain of a baseball team, and he's wondering, how did this ever happen to me? And maybe he's going to the World Series, maybe he's not. But this free will player on this video game that you're interacting with, if they take the tasks up and start really being responsible with them and playing them out with good intentions, you would keep expanding any requests they asked just to watch that player take on that role and see how far they could go with their own game. I don't know where I'm going with this 10-minute video, but I'm just going to tell you this. I've had a lot of things happen that there's no way in the world I created all of it. I did not. Now, I might have been involved in a lot of it. I might have been driving it. Law of attraction, call it what you want. What I just described with Super Mario could be very much like the law of attraction. I'm not too sure. If you can't tell, I'm super pumped and super excited, and I do get high on the rush of my own emotions, especially when those emotions are going to help a lot of other people in addition to myself, or will help more people than me, because we will do more for others than we will do for ourselves all day long. So let me bring this back around to practical information. If you're not doing it, please write down your goals, write down your gratitudes, and look at them every day, like I started to on September the 13th, 2001. And now it's been almost 20 years of me doing this every day. And the last few months, take on the wisdom and the advice of some masters and people that, we've all looked up to or sometimes look up to, and start writing them down every day, and then really emotionally imbibing them with the emotions of those goals and gratitudes as though they're happening right now. Because guess what? When the emotion and the repetition gets hot enough and consistent enough and high enough, you're going to act on it, and maybe somebody someplace is going to help you with your goals. So sit tuned, my friends, or stay tuned, my friends. Sit tight and buckle up, because I've got some really, really awesome news coming up for my life and for you. But we are bigger than we think we are. You're born to be great. I completely believe that. If I look back at how I grew up, what I was doing, even until my mid-20s, even until almost 30, and it just amazes me how much we can get done if the intentions and actions are aligned, and you approach everything with, you know, the proper views and the proper effort and the right actions and the right mindfulness and the right concentration. And if your livelihood is helping other people, and if you also, you know, really, I guess, think of others along with yourself and take a holistic view. If nothing else, I've learned life is about relationships. And the better the relationship you have, and the more relationships you have that are very, very good for you and good for others, you're going to be pushed, pulled, or dragged in directions you can't even imagine right now. So to a couple of people out there, and you probably know who you are, and my life is moving in a different couple of directions, I want to thank you for trusting me and bringing me along in those directions. And I won't let you down, because I never let anybody down. And I'm really excited for my future and everybody else's. So anyways, there's my 10 or 11 minute video. Sorry if it was a little bit long. Create a great day and a great life, my friends, because you really do create it. And we will see you soon. I'm Dwayne Marino.